If you refuse higher truths, nothing can stop you from having troubles. If you accept higher truths, nothing can stop you from losing troubles. It does indeed all depend on you. Now, all obstacles to receiving healthy impressions, higher healing truths, all obstacles to that exist in a place with which you are extremely familiar. It's called your mind. Try that one again. All obstacles and barriers to you finding true life, to getting rid of being furious at what life has handed you, and it's handed you some pretty bad things. All obstacles exist in the mind you are using right now in this room. Look at it from another viewpoint. And this should make you smile inwardly with great authentic pleasure. All obstacles exist in your own mind. They do not exist anywhere in the time zone starting with your birth to this moment. They are the problems, the obstacles are nowhere in the time itself, but in your mismanaged mind, which mismanages memory and recalls sad things, bad things, exciting things, falsely romantic things, and so clogs up your mind that it can't be set free. Now let's try that one again. There are no obstacles in any person you could turn around and see in this room. No obstacles to your spiritual liberty. There are no obstacles in those people that you will see driving away from here, or that you see in your own home. There are no barriers to you being a true, happy human being at that employment where you'll go to tomorrow. Not a single person or event that you encounter or have encountered can do anything to keep you out of the kingdom of heaven. I hope I have emphasized that long enough for you to remember it, so that the next time you feel like blaming someone, assaulting an event, the next time you feel like calling it something that's stopping me from being happy, you'll catch yourself and you'll stop thinking that way. And you'll remember this truth, which I gave you at the start, that it is your mind and your presently wrongly operating mind that is the entire, absolute, complete problem. Now I'll tell you why. That's great news. Because you won't have to go out and try to get a feeling of rightness like getting revenge on someone, like slandering someone, like being cruel either in thought or word or deed to anyone. You'll have no need for that anymore. You can abolish every rock that you throw that bounces against the wall and comes back and hits you. You can stop it altogether. What an astonishing, an amazing point of liberation that is. You don't have to do anything to get happiness from anyone or any source of income. You don't have to do any of that anymore. You don't have to induce feelings of pleasure inside yourself. From what little you've heard in these first few minutes of the talk, whenever you feel bad and sad, you can stop exactly where you are, whether you're all alone or with 1,000 other people. No matter what has upset you, what has made you nervous, made you want to score a point, no matter what unpleasant, punishing feeling you get, you can stop right where you are and begin to turn your mind around from an enemy to a friend, as an elementary first friend, because the intellectual center is only one center from which you must use as a vaulting pad to vault on up to higher regions of consciousness and purity and happiness. But you now have work to do, even while this talk is proceeding. Because while you have a mind that has been sneaking in and committing vandalism against you, while you have that part, you also have another part that can agree to truth. You have a part that can agree to be a cosmic cop, a spiritual policeman. It can agree to patrol the boulevards and the alleys of your own mind, and with the flashlight, because it's dark in the alleys of the mind, isn't it? With that powerful flashlight, it can point at all the griefs, all the stubbornnesses, all the hostilities. It can point the flashlight at that, and at that moment, you are now beginning to see the enemy in operation. And believe me, and believe yourself by your own experience, that when you see the light go on while watching television and seeing something that should not be there because it is sinful, because it is evil, because it is intimidating, because it's trying to make you feel guilty about something, the spotlight of your own rearranged mind can go on to that, and you can understand an astonishingly marvelous idea, which is that you can use one part of your intellect, of your mind, to kick out. And I want you to be 10 times as alert, as alive, and energetic as you are. Don't you dare take a broom and try to gently sweep out what's been harming you. Even if it comes from the outside, it's your responsibility for taking it inside and receiving it. You're not to take a gentle broom and sweep it out anymore. You'll understand better as you grow in grace, grow and spiritual perception, you'll understand better the illustration and figure of speech I'm giving you, and that I order you, I instruct you, I tell you, you'll never again to be gentle with insanity. In mental hospitals, a patient gets too bad, they have to tie him down and put him in a room for both his own sake and for the sake of the other people around. You're to get that tough. No, you don't understand that yet, but I'm introducing it to you. Truth is a sword. The spiritual sword of righteousness, translated into spiritual terms, is indeed the mightiest sword there is in the universe, and I want you to increasingly understand this figure of speech so that the next time sickness, insanity, and satanic forces, which have fooled you so long, the next time they put it in appearance, you will smash it. You will hit it with every bit of spiritual righteousness that you can manage to collect at the moment. It won't be much at the start. And I'll tell you why it won't be much. Because you are still afraid of evil. You're afraid of evil people. Yes, you are. You're afraid of what they can do to you, how they might harm your income, how they might think badly toward you over something. You are 1,000 times more afraid of darkness than you have been able to admit to yourself thus far, and you're going to admit it so that you can change it. Toughness is a part of your spiritual training, and spiritual and innocent and pure toughness will come to you easily. I have to put this over in case I gesture too much. See, I was aware of the glass of water, right? It will come to you of itself, casually, nicely, and you'll maybe put your hand up like I did in an exclamation of revelation of a certain point, of a reconciliation of two positions that you've never been able to do before, but now you've brought them together, and now there's unity instead of opposition, which is this. You used to think that being nice has something to do with being weak. Yes, you did think that. Now you're understanding this reconciliation I'm telling you about, that authentic spirituality, being a conscious man or woman, being aware of yourself and of your passing thoughts, all that has built into it a sternness, a toughness that has no negativity in it at all, has no badness about it, has no cruelty about it. You will look with amazement at what you used to call being strong. And you'll put the right labels on it. When I thought I was being strong in a certain situation, you're now confessing your sins to heaven, which is good, and to yourself. When I gave that talk down at that meeting years ago, yesterday, when I gave that talk, I'd read all the books on how to give a proper speech, and how to drop in a little humor to make them laugh now and then, And I forget a lot of those things that book said. There's 1,000 points. How can you remember them all? But you remember a few of them. And you get up and you give that talk. Or, if it isn't to a group of people, before your wife. Pity her. And you give the talk. And when it's all over, whether 5 minutes or an hour or two, you congratulate yourself. Yeah, I really wowed him, knocked him in the aisles that time. Terrific. That book I read, it gave 50 chapters on how to be a dynamic, forceful, spiritual, great, marvelous, beloved speaker. Shorten the title if you wanted the book. It said I would be a commander of men and women. I would be strong. Well, after you have studied what we're studying here, one day you're going to be seated at home on your couch, and guess what is in front of you? On a bookshelf, a big bookshelf, at least 500 volumes with the similar titles: How to Be Powerful and Effective and Persuasive and Get What You Want at Minimum Work. Oh, I get a better title. Oh, see if this book is on the market somewhere. How to Become a Millionaire Working 2 minutes per week. Part-time in 2 minutes, that's well. Well, you're seated at home on the couch and you're looking at all those brightly colored volumes on the wall in front of you, and you're looking them over. This has to happen to you. You're looking at all those books and wondering which one you should take next. You've already got a dozen more coming in the mail, and you can hardly wait for them. Meanwhile, which one? How did I manage to miss the mark of what they were saying? I read all those books, and I still look for day-old bread at the supermarket. You fill in your blank. In other words, I'm not making it. I wonder why. All right. Now you're to remember the talk and the points you've had so far, so that you will have the following experience. You'll be sitting there on the couch, all excited about money making or having power over people, or whatever you want, which you think will make you happy, which is a part of your malicious mind. And you'll be looking at all those books on the shelf and wondering which one you should take down next. And all of a sudden, you will remember that one day you came to a talk at New Life Foundation, or you read a book, New Life Foundation, and the thought of what you heard at that meeting or reading that book will come to you, and you won't like it. You won't like that thought that of all the things you learned here. Because you already have your own plans for being happy, and there's 500 helps for you on the shelf. So you're miserable. This can be, it not always is, unfortunate with people, but this could be the turning point in the life of any man or any woman. If you remember what I just told you, that the only enemy is the way your mind is now running wild and furious and in dark alleys. If at that point you remember that, because then you can remember, I heard that the problem, I heard that the problem is in my refusal of higher truths and my acceptance of lower truths. I heard that. So maybe, now this is the person who's going to make it. I'm giving you the process by which you'll have to go through in one way or another. I'll give you an illustration, but it could be different, but the basics are there. I would prefer to look at those 500 books on how to become a success and popular and get elected. I'd rather read those books. But what I heard in that lecture has spoiled it all for me. I'm angry. I want to believe in those, but something happened to me at that talk. I can't believe in them anymore. What's wrong? Now you come to the point where you either choose heaven or hell. This happens to everyone out in the world because the truth is flittering around everywhere to people. But let's get on with this. At that moment of misery, something else has been added. And I'll tell you what it is. He's seated on his couch, wanting to know which book to read because he wants to double his income in 2 weeks. But then he remembers the truth that he heard. And now I was back and forth in conflict. Should I go get that third book to the left on the top shelf? That looks good, the bright red cover. Should I get that and plan my future based on what I read in that book, one of my favorites? Or should I wonder why I have a new misery in my mind? There's no question about it. I've never been in conflict. I love those books. I love practicing them. I love talking about them. I'd like to recommend them to everyone I can. This is a point in the life of a true seeker, where he starts to shake, starts to worry, because he is at the point where he has to make a choice. Listen to this. He has to make a choice between the true world of everlasting life or the book world, the temporary world, which can thrill him until it kills him. Remember, everyone can make a selection. And I'm explaining to you this morning this critical moment which must happen to you if you're ever going to be saved, if you're ever going to be in charge of yourself and therefore in charge of everything in the whole world. When you're in charge of yourself, you're in charge of everything in the world. Never mind their inflations, never mind their taxes, never mind their bully tactics, never mind that. It has no control, no effect, can't hurt you at all. The whole world, all hell can concentrate its furies and its viciousness on you, and you wouldn't feel a thing. You're not there. You're not there to get hurt. There's no one there to be punished by anything because you're not under the law of punishment anymore. You're not under the law of your own mind, your own old mind anymore. You're free of that. All right. This man is now at the crisis point which I urge you to get to as fast as you can. You're not there yet, but you're hearing the information. You get the sides, the signs, which will show you how to get to it. So that you will be in this story, illustration that I've talked about. You'll be in the place where you don't like being in conflict like this, But you can recognize that you don't like being in conflict. That's important. Because then, for the first time, you can see both sides are the same. And I'll make it as simply as I have to reduce this to simplicity. For the first time in your 30, 40, 80 years, you have caught glimpses of heaven and hell at the same split second. You know what they are? I'll tell you what they are. The hell is the conflict itself that you must go through and become conscious of when the Spirit of truth tries to tell you that those books are not going to make you happy. They're not going to give you anything of eternal value. They're not going to give you what your heart wants. Now, when the Spirit of truth is talking to you and telling you that, and you recognize the truth of it with one part of you, that's the heaven part. You recognize the truth. But the other part, your own dark, clinging, sticky octopus nature, doesn't want you to hear and go any further than what you've heard from the other part of yourself. It doesn't want you to turn away from those books, or the books represent the whole world, of course. Don't want you to turn away from this world because, listen to this, the existence of evil, sickness, insanity, neurosis, the existence of all those creatures from hell their existence depend on you siding with them, siding with the world. And you're wavering. You waver back and forth. And I better tell you this. There's so many thoughts. I have to stay on the main road and not go too far off. But many, many times, so that you understand this, in this experience, if you come to it, if you want to be saved, if you really want to be saved, you will go back and forth and you'll make, well, let's say a minimum of 50,000 mistakes. Let's make that a minimum of 500,000. In which, because you're confused, which serves satanic purposes, you will be afraid to give up the false pleasure and resource and a friend, what you call those books, which again represents the whole world. You'll be afraid of giving them up because you're afraid that you're going to disappear if you do. That's a lie from hell. See, you have a false nature, a false part of your mind that is trying to keep you being friendly with the books, that doesn't want you to discover that the books and what they represent. There are good books, of course, but they're trying to prevent you from seeing that something exists. Listen. Something exists for you and you that is not in those books. There's a new book. But you don't know that. And you're going to scream out. You're going to scream out, please, quick, show me the new book. Give me something to hang on to while I let go of those books. Absolutely not. The path, this may be a thought you've heard before, but the path to heaven goes straight through hell. That means this. I'll explain that to you. It means this. There is a period when you refuse those books, but do not have the book of life yet. There is a period, a trail, a path that you have to travel for a long, 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 long time. Well, start this morning. Start this morning. You have to travel because in that dark valley of the soul, in that is the loss of the temporary that finally leads at the end to the finding of what is everlasting. But this is the man's first experience, and I'm explaining to you so that you can get this quiet, peaceful toughness that I spoke about. And I'll illustrate it again. Don't you fool around with me. You're saying something very quietly, inwardly, that I'm illustrating as you used to do it outwardly, so you can see how you can change inwardly. Don't you dare ridicule me again. You don't have to say that with words. Your being will say it. In the first place, you won't have any association at all with those crumbs and bombs. Oh, see? Did you see what happened to you? I'll explain what happened to you. When I said crumbs and bums, that aroused a certain amount of uneasiness and guilt in your book self that's still attached to all those books on the wall, which means this. I thought that I was supposed to be nice to people and never use terms such as calling a man a crumb and a bum. They're unfortunates. They're disadvantaged, and we ought to help them. Those are the words straight from hell. It's one side or the other. You're either on God's side or you're on Satan's side. It is one or the other, and get that through your mind. So that you'll understand what it means to never compromise with evil anytime, any place. That doesn't mean you can change it. The world doesn't want changing. It wants to drag you down to hell with it. And you're learning how to successfully battle that. You will learn to your enormous relief that the toughness, the uncompromising, the quietness, the power that you have against the wrong part of your mind, all that power comes to you as a gift. And it comes to you as you refuse to listen to the temptation of the dark forces which wants you to go back to those books. It comes to you as you continue to travel the dark valley of the Spirit, and you get a little closer to the far side of the valley. An amazing thing happens to you. Right standing in the supermarket checkout stand. Right in the middle of that busy business conference. There's a dozen of you around the table trying to figure out business problem of some kind. Or you're at home, either alone or with someone else, maybe a number of people. Right in the middle of that, a thought so astonishing comes to you, which is this. I am here now right in the middle of the noisy factory, talking with someone, driving my car. Right in the middle of that, I know something that was never ever in one of those books that I used to read, and I know there never will be. I know, and I know it from myself because I'm knowing it from a different self that I was when I first got that shock, the discomfort of realizing I had to leave this world. What you know is this: no matter where you are, what you're doing, 24 hours a day, all throughout the weeks and months, you know that you live in the higher world. Knowing that, you know there's no one around that business table who can be insulted by the boss for saying, you did an awful work. Remember how much you're in terror of the boss bawling you out? Find your own similar situation. No matter how the negative, foolish, cruel world assaults you, nothing can touch you because you're not living on that level, on that human level. Not on the level of those men crowded around the table using bad language. And they're not even ashamed of a little thing like that. They're not even ashamed of using bad language. See how bad it is? They don't have any conscience that it's wrong to be vulgar. They don't even know that. Which, by the way, which is why it is hopeless for the world. You tell them, please, sir, don't use language like that. Dirty words, please don't use that. It's wrong. It is wrong to use bad words. What are you, a saint or something? See? And why, by the way, did he get mad? Do you know why he got mad? I'll tell you why he got mad. Because he knew in his heart that using vulgar, crude words is crude and vulgar. He knew it. See, what an extra point that is. See, the reason people get furious when you tell them the truth is because they know you're telling them the truth. But we have decided to do something different, haven't we? We have determined, no matter what we're going to lose in that dark valley, no matter what we lose, we'll go as fast as we can to lose as much as we can, as fast as we can. We're understanding what it means to lose all in order to win all. Back to this toughness. I want you to do some extra thought about it when you go out of here. And I want you to be aware of, during this next week, be aware of where you first do not recognize a wrongness when it appears in front of you. And it happens all the time. Any kind of a negative state is wrong. Any kind of a subtle scheme that takes advantage of other people in order to get something for the person doing the scheme. Anything that appeals to egotism, to sick self-interest. I want you to get the point where you are stunned at the fact that you live in a world that is totally evil. The world itself is evil. And everyone is a flock of evil sheep. They're all heading for the same cliff, by the way. So, your recognition of the sickness, insanity, viciousness of the average person in that world out there, your recognition of it will be one empowering factor by which, and I'm illustrating it physically, and you'll be doing this spiritually and inwardly, by which you put on your spiritual policeman's uniform, so to speak, and you've got your weapons and your flashlight. Oh, yes, I'm glad I thought of this one. You have your absolute badge of authority there. And no one, no crook, no murderer, no embezzler, no criminal can ever take that away. You remember that. He can't take it away. That's one thing he can't do. He can't hurt you, the spiritual policeman. You know who a crook can easily hurt? Simple. Another crook. Do you know who's in danger of being murdered? A murderer in his heart. Anyway, you have this flashlight. You have the authority of something higher. And when you see that shadow in the alley, or when you see that famous man, that man who's acclaimed as a great helper of mankind, when you see all those people who are symbols of righteousness in this world, you will see through them, even while they're giving all their great talks and writing all their great books about loving the world and straightening it out and cooperating with people. The spiritual toughness in you will have gone to the point where it's so 100% that you'll know for a fact what I just said to you, that the sickness in insanity and trickery and evil of this world is 1,000 times worse than you think. Now, it is truth itself that is seeing this through you. Therefore, you can have no self-righteousness at all. Self-righteous, you went through that valley of the shadow in which you saw all those crummy things you used to do and say and think, and you were appalled at what you were like. How can you ever be self-righteous again? You can't. All right, our time is coming to an end, but I want to emphasize you knowing that the enemy is in the refusal of your mind to learn and to understand. The friend and the doorway to everlasting life and everlasting pleasure and freedom and pleasure right in this life here. The doorway to that is in you understanding that there is another part of your mind which you can employ to put an end to the tyranny over you that the other side has had. It's called praying to God to make you willing to be willing to follow him and to do his will, not yours and not the will of this world, to do his will. Good morning. Ask heaven what to be, not what to do. Because a true being always knows what to do with himself, with herself. That's the question you have constantly, isn't it? What should I do with today, with the next hour? What should I do with that dilemma down at my work? How shall I be the kind of a person who can handle all the crises and difficulties? You're asking essentially how you can do something that will turn out to be favorable, good for you. Now, try some deep thinking right now about your inquiry. You're asking, how can I make the right decision? How can I select the course that's going to give me maximum security and happiness? You've asked a dreadfully wrong question. You've started off with the assumption that there is an I there, a person there, an entity there who can know what to do when there is no such person there at all. So if you reverse things and you ask, what should I be? Already you've smashed the tyranny of what should I do? What kind of a person should I be? You're reflecting, what kind of a person should I be that is able to do, act, choose what is right? Now you're on to it, and now you are in for it. You're in for it in a way you've never allowed yourself to be before. You are sensing what I'm talking about. Oh, what an answer you're going to get when you answer, who should I be in reality? And the first thing, if your heart is right, the first thing that will leap out and get you by the collar and shake you up is the fact that you can't any longer be the person who asks, screams out, what should I do? You can't be that. You're finding out what you can't be, not what you should be in your own estimation of what is good for you. You're going to go around in a daze. How many already do? You know the song that goes, I'll be loving you always, and it says, not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. You're really in for it, not for just an hour, not for just a day, but for at least 6 weeks. Oh, come on. The greatest pleasure of your life is the knowledge you can use all the rest of your life to toss out the junk and feel the resulting lesser weight on yourself as the junk goes out and the lightness of reality comes in. Sure, it's rough and it's tough to ask, who should I be? Because it's going to arouse the revelation. You can't be what you've always been. Oh, how many of you have treasured being a know-it-all? How many of you have been so confident you know what you're doing? You didn't have to listen to anything outside of your own mind. Everything that was right was there. How many of you have been utterly confident and then went home at the end of that confident day and bawled to yourself? As a matter of fact, the whole world out there is just waiting for the end of the office day, for the end of the show, for the end of the time when the cameras, including the eyes of other people, are on you. People can hardly wait so they can get home and break down and bawl. You did that last night when you were all by yourself, even if your wife was there, or husband was there. Oh, you were so glad you could turn on the TV show and do all the other distracting things you do to try to push away the horrible day you had out there. You learn here in this room how to abolish bawling. And when you abolish all your need to be on camera, the need for bawling will go away, because there won't be one thing during the day and then a night to face afterward. It'll be daytime 24 hours a day, even while you're asleep. Listen to this, please. Even while you're asleep in your bed, instead of being invaded by the monsters from the world, you will be, and I say this deliberately, not in sentimentality, but as a true description, you will be rocked to sleep in the arms of the only person, the only entity, the only power that cares for you, which is God himself. You will be rocked to sleep at night, and you'll wake up refreshed instead of waking up terrified of facing that man or that woman or that condition again. You will wake up not hoping, but knowing that everything you meet will be conquered without effort on your part. You'll wake up, I'm illustrating it physically as well as talking to you. You get up in the morning and you go through your morning hours before you leave home or before you take care of the kids or whatever. You will wake up when you know what it means to put being above all else. You wake up in the morning, you don't think about the next 5 minutes, or when you first walk into the office and face that person across the desk from yours with whom you had the quarrel yesterday. You don't think about those things. What you know, listen, at the moment you walk out of your bed, you walk across the room, you know at that moment that all is well. At the moment you wake up, you know all is well because you knew while you were asleep that all is well. There's no crisis to meet at 8 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. There's no time involved within you. What you know all night long, and when you woke up and came to consciousness to the exterior world, what you know, how many get up at 5? 6? Hands, please. 7? I'm studying. 8? Oh, I better skip to 10. Shall I stop and be merciful? All right. Whatever time you groggily fall out of bed, and remember, you're supposed to put your feet first. You're now a new kind of an awakener. You wake up and you get out of bed. Oh, the marvel of living in heaven on earth. The absolute beauty of now being who you really are. No problems, nothing to fear. Triumph at whatever time you get up, say 6 o'clock. You get up and you know very well, and you know absolutely nothing can shake it. You know it's going to be a great day and into the evening. You know how you know that? I'll tell you how. Because you know it at 8 o'clock. And you've learned how not to lose it to time, to furious thoughts, to dramatic mental movies in which you were the hero. No more of that. No more self-glamorization. No more No more need to wonder what to do with yourself with that crisis. There's no crisis. No more need to worry about what the decision is going to be if someone told you on your work, for example, whether you should be promoted or not. All is well at 8 o'clock in the morning, whenever you get up, when you really know all is well at 8 o'clock, you know that all is well for eternity. That goes beyond that day and the week and the 3 years, the 10 years, the 20 years. Now is always now. God doesn't think and live and act in terms of seconds or minutes or 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no clock or calendar in the spiritual world. Human minds going into distortion combined with egotism creates time both for practical purposes sometimes, but also because a person can always hide out and say, if I don't make it today, I'll make it tomorrow. If you say that, I'm going to make it tomorrow, you're never going to make it. And it doesn't make a bit of difference what you do make or don't make tomorrow as long as you're thinking in terms of tomorrow. Listen to me. Salvation, deliverance from your sins, freedom, spirituality is now or never. All right. We went wrong somewhere. Something happened. And I'm going to explain to you and bring out a couple of very critical points that will help your inner development and your understanding that the only thing that matters is the kind of an individual you actually are. What counts is the nature of your thoughts, the nature of your reactions to life. What counts is your spiritual level, what you're trying to raise by being here. Nothing matters but what is true about you. So now you have to find out what is true. You find that out by finding out what is false. There was a man out in the wilderness, trapped in his cabin way back in the heavy, snowy mountains. And he was all alone there and snowbound. Town was miles away, and he was cut off from it by the closed paths, the snowbanks all around the cabin. So he was trapped in there for a long time and acquired what is commonly called cabin fever. But we'll call it psychological cabin fever. How many of you suspect you might have it? Come on now, now's your chance to agree with something. Isn't it awful to be snowbound inside your cold self? Yes, it is terrible. But we're going to follow this man trapped inside and find out what happened to him, where he made his mistakes, so that you can withdraw the mistakes you have been making and shatter the psychological cabin fever. You've got a fever, you're hot, sick, and uncomfortable, right? So he was inside there. For a while it was fine. He collected all the things he was going to collect out there in his work. And he'd collected hundreds of pine cones, put on the wall, decorate the wall, make it look pretty, and hopeful if he had any visitors that they would see where you come into this. So that when visitors came next summer, when he thawed out, visitors came, he could picture them all winter of next summer time again. Something happening in the future where visitors would come in and look at all the pretty pine cones displayed on all four walls and say, "Oh, what a marvelous display of pine cones." Did you do this all by yourself? Who else? What do you think? I got an elf around here? Mental movies. How many of you will raise your hand on this, have mental movies in which you are the hero of the little scene or the heroine? Everybody's crowding around, applauding you, like they do in advertising. You get a new car, all the neighbors, the whole neighborhood's going to turn out and applaud you. Give me a chance to recover, please. So he arranged the pine cones to look as good as he thought they would bring the maximum admiration from possible visitors. Meanwhile, because he was busy with his pine cone walls, the snow got snowier, heavier. He didn't notice through the window there how it was coming down in increased volume, how it was piling up all around the cabin. He didn't notice how he could barely open the front door a little bit because the snow was pressing in. He didn't notice how he was getting colder and colder, and time went on and on. He was so busy rearranging the pine cone for the next few months when visitors would come that he did not know what was happening to him. And I want you to pause within yourself right now and realize that you do not know what is happening to you. It's important that you wake up and, for purposes of illustration, that you take your eyes off the wall and your particular pine cones and you look out the window and you notice how altogether white it is out there and how higher it was today than it was a few days ago. Noticing how life, the coldness, the chill of this life has been surrounding you, but you didn't notice. Now this is your first lesson today. You're to notice what is happening to you, because you're going to have to reverse the whole process. Time went on, and after a while, he got tired of rearranging the pine cones in one manner. So he did something very dangerous to his life. He decided that the whole arrangement of the way he had put those pine cones, the arrangement was not pretty enough, would not attract maximum applause and admiration. So he took them all down and started all over with a new pattern. Instead of in circles, he put them in squares or triangles, hung them in different ways with colored string. Now, how many times, so you'll understand what I'm talking about, how many times have you simply rearranged the pine cones inside your cabin hoping to attract happiness, You know what I'm talking about. You were so sure, weren't you, of that romance, that change in scenery. You were so sure that reading a different book, you fill in the information as needed as to what the change of pine cone decorations means to you. Where have you been changing them? All within the same cold, lonely cabin. Everything went on, everything that went on within the kind of a self that you've always had. There was no change in your location. It was just you and your changing patterns of pine cones. Now, I have to tell you that all of you hearing this talk are in that stage. But you're hearing this talk and you can learn how to reverse it, which we'll get into as we go along. Our man in the cabin was just changing things without ever thinking on how we could get out of the cabin altogether and get back to town, which represents true safety, the place you should be living in. He didn't think about bursting out, because at this point a dreadful decision was made by him, which human beings make. And I want you to give special consideration to what I'm going to say in the next few minutes on this point, because it is necessary for you to recognize where you made an inner mistake. His mistake was this. Without realizing what was happening, he did indeed, at the start of the heavier snowfall, he did indeed notice it. Unconsciously, he realized that the snow was getting higher and higher outside the windows. He realized that it had snowed heavily and ceaselessly for several days at a time. He noticed how an attempt to open the front door became a little harder every time he tried to open it. Now here it is. He deliberately blocked out awareness of the danger he was in because he did not want to believe that he was in danger. He wanted to believe that he understood everything that was going on. So, instead of seeing the danger and saying, I better get out of here now before it gets too thick, too heavy, instead of recognizing the danger of the heavy snow and then saying, I'd better do something about that, he failed to do that because he did not understand and was afraid that if he went out the door and started down the very faint path to get back to town, he was afraid, trembling, shaking, if I try to get back, I won't make it and I will perish. This is what's happened to you. This is what's happened to the whole world in this room. And where else are you going to find it but in this room? Are you going to find out the depths of the error so that it will become clear to you and you could destroy the error and get back to town where you belong, get back to your spiritual home? Go into this a little deeper. Because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get out and back to safety, because he feared he wouldn't be able to make it, he deliberately close his eyes to the increasing threat, which increased his madness, by the way, his refusal to see and try to understand what was happening to him. He made a horrible mistake, which everyone makes, but there is a solution to it. The mistake was him saying, I can't make it out. And then he went into madness. He went into neurosis. He went into delusion. He went into sickness. And here's what his sickness, which is evil, evil is sickness, sickness is evil. Here's what evil told him to say to himself and then believe what he said to himself. Evil, Satanism, madness, insanity told him to say the following to himself and to believe them. Sir, you're not trapped in here. You want to be here. This cabin is where you should be. This is your true life here in here, safe from the storms and the snows out there. So, sir, here's what to do. Be happy where you are. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And then devilish voices continued to talk to him and said to him, you'll understand this now, said to him, look, you are happy where you are. There is no danger. You're safe here. There's no danger. So, prove to yourself that you're safe and happy and content. Sir, spend your time arranging and rearranging the pine cones on the wall. Because one day people are going to come. They're going to look in, they'll be amazed at your artistry, at your talent, at the beauty, and you did it all yourself. No one else here, you did it all yourself. This crazy, violent, brutal world consists of men and women who have fallen for the satanic lie that your cabin is the safe place, your little egotistical life is the safe place. And so, just be active. Do things that are, now this is the devil talking now. Do things that are practical, useful, give you a sense of purpose. Give you a sense of meaning, give you a sense of self-worth. Just think, next summer, when the snows melt, you are going to be rewarded for what you did. Maybe the newspapers will come out, and the television cameras will come out. And it's warm in summer. We know it's a little rough now, but remember the future. When the snows melt, the TV people are going to come out and they're going to interview you and they're going to take pictures of your artistic work on the wall. Then you'll be someone. You'll know who you are because you're working now to know who you are. All you have to do is obey by continuous instructions. And finally, you will know what to do. Now back again, because I don't want you to forget it. I want you to remember, when you walk out of here, what you're going to do. Now, obviously, there's certain practical, necessary things you're going to do. You're going to drive your car somewhere, whatever. But I want you to be able to discern the difference between an effort to get out of the cabin while you can and merely redecorating the walls. Do you understand now the cause of boredom? It's the same old pine cones with a different ribbon on it. Same old marriage, same old romantic involvement. New business enterprise. Everything has to be the same because you are the same. You're still inside the same cabin, the same person. Having listened to the lie, having listened to what is destroying you, you now inherit the kingdom of darkness and all that goes with it, which is suffering, which is agony, which is angrily insisting. You watch people, you watch yourself. You watch yourself, how you insist that your misery is happiness. Well, let me tell you something. Suffering is not happiness. Suffering is happiness, and is happiness. While today you're busy rearranging the pine cones on the wall, I want you to stop your hand right in the middle of placing that new pine cone in a new place. I'm illustrating this even on the physical level so you'll understand that it involves all your centers, body, mind, emotions, reactions. I want you to be able to choose for yourself, to see for yourself, the very moment you put up that next pine cone in the new arrangement, and I want you to stop your hand before the pine cone reaches the wall. What does that mean? That means you're going to be a thought watcher, an action watcher, a scene watcher as you go around the world. And you're going to catch yourself at the precise moment when you are switching from an old arrangement of your life to a new arrangement. And then you're to remember this talk. You're to remember the illustration of the man trapped in the cabin. And you're to know that that's you. And you're to make a strong, all-out effort to stop all your inner factors, thought, emotion, etc. You're to stop them and give yourself a shock. And give yourself a second shock later in the day, and a third and a fourth. That means you're going to suddenly become conscious, shockingly aware that this talk has been all about you. Well, he was talking about me. And I thought that I was happy, but when he explained in the talk that all I'm doing is rearranging the patterns and I'm still inside the cabin, when he said that, I began to understand that because I can think of how I behaved yesterday and last month and 10 years ago. That's true. Nothing has changed. I'm as sick and miserable and mad today as I was 20 years ago when I said, now I've got it and I know what to do. Now I'm going to tell you something. You must go through this process of catching yourself in the very act of putting up the new pattern. And let that lead you to the factual, actual realization that your misery is not happiness. Oh, keep it as simple as that, please. You've got it all mixed up. You do not know, you actually do not know the difference between being happy and being miserable. What makes you happy, according to your present definition of happiness? How soon did it go away? 5 minutes? A couple years? It always goes away. You're always trying a new pattern, aren't you? Once you catch even the first glimpse of the fact that you've been nothing but a foolish hypocrite all your life, once you catch even a little glimpse of that, you have a chance to get out of the cabin and get back to town where you belong. See? Isn't that strange? See, most people don't want to hear this, obviously. You must want to hear. When you see how lost you always have been, and how you used to teach others the way to the higher way, how much advice you gave with the proper facial expression. Once there is nothing but collapse of yourself within, that means you have allowed God to contact you, and I'll tell you what God will do next. He will tell you to continue to just sit down in that cabin and it's just one room, isn't it? Those mountain cabins, just one room. Just sit somewhere against a wall and just sit there for a long time and just look and see the pattern you now have on the wall. And then realize that it's the 50th, the 100th pattern that you've had. Your enterprises, your ways to be happy, you're moving on. God will tell you, and just sit there until the shock is followed by a more severe shock. And that shock is followed by a more severe shock. On and on and on and on and on. And when you do that, at first you will worry that you're going mad, but you're really going sane for the first time because you're understanding the madness of your life. Out of that realization, listen to this, out of the realization that all is lost, and you must realize that all is lost. Out of that realization, within that realization, to use a figure of speech, you will hear the flutter of angel wings coming down to you. You will hear the sound of angel voices, and you know what they will tell you? They will tell you, get to that door and get out of there and get right out into that snow and go, never mind. Don't you listen to anyone who tells you you can't make it, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it where you are staying in this cabin. You're only going to live in delusion. And you're going to grow sicker and scarier. God is telling you to get out of that cabin, because when you step outside with the intention of getting back home, the angels of God, of mercy and of guidance will go with you every step. But you've got to step outside and face what you have been avoiding. Remember when you were in the cabin, which particular decoration did you have on the wall? And you said, everything is fine. You went around showing people your new engagement ring. You showed someone else the new paycheck. Everything is going to... If you will let your whole world collapse, that is what is meant by leaving the cabin. It doesn't make any difference how afraid you are. It doesn't make a bit of difference, because you were leaving, listen to this, whether you know it or not, you were leaving your fear behind. It's just that much. The first step will decrease your madness that much. And then as you go along, all along, you'll understand increasingly why you must leave the cabin. That means why you must leave the old life. You must leave yourself in order to find yourself, in order to find newness. Come on, all together. We're going to work all together. We are working all together here. Not listening to anything but the loving command, injunction, direction, order, the loving order. Get out. You get out of your own life right now. When you go out that door, make that representative you leaving the cabin, and remember everything you heard in this talk. And that will be the angelic voices that will guide you on and on. Good morning.